Forgotten Maya tombs, icy cities of the Arctic, and artifacts that bring death. Our planet is scattered with traces of forbidden history that are never mentioned in schools. We have studied secret archives and the latest reports from archaeologists to show you what has been hidden for centuries. We are beginning our journey into the unknown. Hello, my friend. You're on the Kurtop channel. Icy ruins beneath the snow. We are used to thinking that the Arctic is a place ruled only by icy emptiness, lifeless, empty, devoid of any traces of civilization. But what if that's not the case? What if beneath the thick glaciers there are not just traces of long-lost peoples, but entire lost cities? Satellite studies in recent years have led to the discovery of anomalous shapes beneath the icy crust, which may indicate ancient ruins hidden deep within the northern depths. According to some scientists, these cities may be much older than the very first civilizations known to us: Mesopotamia, Egypt, ancient India. All these peoples could have simply been a continuation of something greater and more mysterious than we can imagine. How is this possible? How could it happen that such cities are hidden under a layer of ice kilometers thick? Today, these anomalies remain hypothetical, but every new study only deepens the mystery. Satellite images taken in the most remote corners of the planet show strange shapes and lines that resemble the structure of buildings, streets, or even entire cities. What if these glaciers are not just barriers, but burial grounds of ancient civilizations, ice caps that conceal not only climate changes, but also forgotten chapters of humanity? Amazingly, it's possible that these cities fell victim to global catastrophes that preceded the ice ages. After all, is there anything older than what is preserved in eternal ice? This question concerns scientists now more than ever, and perhaps if we unravel the mystery hidden beneath centuries-old ice, we will reconsider not only the history of our civilizations, but also our very understanding of how our world developed. A gigantic catastrophe. Archaeologists have discovered a unique burial carriage in a barrow grave near the city of Dongfeng in northern China. The discovered fragments of the hearse, which is about 7 meters long and more than 2 meters wide, date back to the Liu dynasty era. Although part of the carriage was destroyed, many of the iron elements decorated with gold plating have been preserved in excellent condition. In the second tomb, archaeologists found more than 30 artifacts, including silver and copper ornaments, as well as gilded bells. These findings will help to study the unique burial rituals of the Khitan, the founders of the Liu state. Interestingly, some scholars believe that the Russian name for China comes from the Khitan people. Why do stones move? On the dried-up bed of racetrack playa in Death Valley, heavy boulders are scattered, leaving long trails behind them. The tracks stretch for dozens or even hundreds of meters, sometimes making sharp turns, sometimes running parallel to each other. The problem is that almost no one has actually seen the moment when they move. The stones seem to move by themselves. Since the early 20th century, scientists have proposed all sorts of explanations, from hurricane-force winds to magnetic anomalies. The solution only appeared in the 2010s when researchers installed GPS sensors on the stones and began years of observation. One of the boulders, weighing more than 300 kilograms, didn't move for several years, and then ended up 800 meters from its original spot. It turned out that movement is only possible when rare conditions coincide. After rain, the ground is covered with a thin layer of water, which freezes at night. In the morning, the ice cracks into large sheets and begins to slowly slide over the mud driven by the wind. These ice sheets, like sails, press against the stones and push them forward. The process is so slow that the human eye can hardly notice it. The stones don't roll or bounce, they drift. That's why for decades there were only tracks left behind and no obvious explanations. The Bassano vase, northern Italy, 15th century. A carved silver vase is given to a young bride as a wedding gift. The night ends in murder. The bride dies with the vase in her hands and manages to curse the gift. After that, the vessel passes from one relative to another, and each new owner soon dies. The story repeats so many times that the object becomes feared even more than any weapon. By the end of the 20th century, the vase was allegedly unearthed again. Inside was a folded sheet with an inscription in English: "Beware, this vase brings death." The warning didn't help. A pharmacist, surgeon, and archaeologist died after touching the object. Desperate, someone threw the vase out a window, almost hitting a police officer. The museum refused it, and after that its trail was lost. There's little documentary evidence of these events online. This is more legend than verified museum artifact. But the legend has lived on for decades and continues to appear in collections of cursed objects. Sometimes objects become part of history, not through archaeology, but because storytellers remember them. The oldest shopping list. When going to the store, many of us make a list of necessary groceries on a piece of paper or in our smartphone's notepad. But it wasn't always like this. During the excavations in southern Turkey, archaeologists discovered a unique clay tablet with Akkadian cuneiform, which turned out to be the oldest known shopping list. This document, created 3,500 years ago, gives us an idea of the daily life of the people of that time. The tablet was discovered in the ruins of Alalak, which drew scholars' attention in the first half of the 20th century. But due to the war, the excavations were suspended and resumed only in the 2000s. Recently, after the 2023 earthquake, another clay tablet was discovered in Alalak during restoration work. It measures 4.2 by 3.5 centimeters and is 1.6 centimeters thick. Deciphering the inscription revealed that it is a shopping list, including wooden tables, chairs, and stools. The document also mentions the names of buyers and sellers, making it an important source for understanding trade and daily life in the 15th century BC. According to Turkish archaeologists, this is the oldest shopping list that has survived to this day, and it is of great value for the study of the history of the ancient Middle East. The Tibetan Iron Man. While physicists in the Luftwaffe were trying to tame sound, ideologists from the most mysterious department of the Reich, the Ahnenerbe, were not looking in laboratories, but deep into the centuries and into the abyss of space. Himmler was fixated on the belief that the Aryan race's origins were concealed in Tibet, the roof of the world. In 1938, a top-secret expedition led by SS Sturmbannführer Ernst Schaefer was sent there, officially to study the flora and fauna, but the real goal was hidden in the instructions given to anthropologist Bruno Beger to find evidence of the existence of a superior race and artifacts from the legendary Shambhala. This expedition brought an object to Berlin that still makes scientists shudder. It is a small statue weighing about 10 kilograms of the Buddhist deity Vaishravana, which the SS men nicknamed the Iron Man. On the deity's abdomen was a left-facing swastika, a symbol of good luck for Buddhists, but for the Nazis it was undeniable proof of ancient kinship. The statue disappeared immediately after the fall of Berlin. For decades, it was considered a myth until it resurfaced in a private collection in 2012. The owner allowed an analysis to be conducted, and the results shocked the scientific community. A group of researchers from the University of Stuttgart, led by Elmar Buchner, determined that the statue was carved not from stone and not from ordinary iron. It is a taxite, a rare type of meteoritic iron with an unusually high content of nickel and cobalt. Chemical analysis showed that the material of the statue is a fragment of the Chinj meteorite, which fell on the border of Siberia and Mongolia about 15,000 years ago. The Nazis, either unknowingly or perhaps fully aware, brought to Germany an artifact literally made from star iron. For Himmler, who believed in the doctrine of the world ice theory, according to which life on Earth was brought from space in the form of ice blocks with metal inclusions, this discovery became a holy grail. But why did the SS need this meteoritic idol? According to the interrogations of the Ahnenerbe staff, they believed that metals that came from space possessed a specific energy capable of enhancing the atmosphere. It could enhance extrasensory abilities and serve as a key for communicating with certain higher entities. The statue of the Iron Man was not just a souvenir, it was studied in secret laboratories as an energy accumulator. Where did the other artifacts from that expedition disappear to? In Schaefer's archives, there are mentions of strange texts on bones that supposedly contained instructions for controlling the forces of nature. Today, the Iron Man is recognized as the only image of a human carved from a meteorite in the world. But was he the only celestial key that the Nazis brought out of Tibet with them? Artifacts from space were only part of the plan to achieve world domination. If meteorites provided mystical power, then German engineers planned to use the sun itself as a tool of absolute destruction. In 1943, deep within the rocket centers, A project was born that today would be called the Death Star of the Third Reich. Goddess of Death, Cyprus, Limba, Settlement. A small limestone figurine from around 3500 BC, a Scottish silhouette, broad shoulders, arms akimbo, a stump for a head. Usually such figures are interpreted as fertility statuettes, but with this one, things didn't go as planned. The first modern owner was Lord Elfand. Within 6 years, all 7 members of his family died. The statuette was passed on, and in the next 3 houses similar stories happened. Sudden deaths, illnesses, and accidents. When the new owner suspected a connection, he donated the figurine to the Royal Scottish Museum in Edinburgh. There, the rumors only grew stronger. One of the curators who worked with the exhibit died within a year. That's how the nickname Goddess of Death was born. What is real and what is legend? There are few documents about the early owners, and the dates don't always match up. Most likely, part of the curse grew out of coincidences and stories retold in the press. The chain of events is so frightening that the figure now ranks among cursed collections, like Egyptian mummies and the Bassano vase. The irony is that originally it was most likely made as a symbol of life and fertility, a statuette of a goddess who was supposed to bring children, not take them away. Today, the exhibit is shown with a disclaimer. Archaeology is a fact, the curse is the culture around the fact, but if I'm talking about strange discoveries, I can't ignore the Lemba goddess. It's a rare case when a small piece of limestone gave rise to a legend that survived a 4,000-year journey from a Cypriot village to a museum display. A storm revealed an ancient ritual. In the spring, after a storm, a coastal cliff collapsed on the shore of the Baltic Sea. The lump of clay that fell down was hiding something inside that no one would have found without help. It had been underground for almost 3,000 years and turned out to be in perfect condition. It is 24 centimeters long, decorated with ornaments, stars, crescents, and symbols resembling signs of the sun and moon. According to archaeologists, the weapon had ritual significance and was possibly used in ceremonies related to the sun cult. The ornaments correspond to the astral symbolism of the Bronze Age. The place where it was found was just a beach, where nothing could have been predicted. Just clay, just a crumbling shore. And there it was, the object. It had lain in darkness for 3 millennia and came into the light for just a few seconds before it could have been carried away by the water. Sometimes archaeology is not just about excavations. It's when the earth itself chooses the moment to show you something important. Why are there walls underwater? Off the coast of Brittany, near the island of Seine, stone structures were discovered underwater that, at first glance, looked too orderly to be a random pile. Straight lines and precise distances between the stones are visible. Vertical slabs are placed as if they were set up intentionally. And all of this is on the seafloor, several meters below the current water level. Archaeologists have recorded several such structures. The largest one is a wall over 100 meters long, made of massive stone blocks and topped with vertical slabs. Nearby, there are other lines, parallel, intersecting, as if they are part of a single system. Radiocarbon and geological data point to the late Mesolithic and early Neolithic periods. At that time, sea levels were lower and the coastline was very different. The exact purpose of their construction is still unclear. One theory is that they were fish traps that used the tides. Another suggests they were defensive or boundary structures. However, the scale and precision of some walls can't be explained by simple utility. There's something else interesting. In Breton folklore, there's a long-standing legend about a sunken settlement and a nearby bay. For a long time, it was considered a myth. Now stone slabs lie underwater, stone lines that look as if someone tried to mark the boundaries of the land, knowing it might disappear. A slab with Maya glyphs. Archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History discovered a huge stone panel carved at the bottom of a sacred pool in Coba, on the Yucatan Peninsula in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo. Choba, an ancient Maya city, flourished from 500 to the 900s AD and reached a population of about 50,000 people. Recent excavations have revealed a monumental panel with 123 Maya glyphs carved at the bottom of a sacred pool near the Nohok Mole Pyramid, which is 42 meters tall. The glyphs form an L-shaped figure covering an area of more than 11 square meters. Epigraphic studies have revealed the name of a previously unknown ruler of Koba, Kavil Chak Chain, who took the name of the lightning god, Kavil. The glyphs also mention the founding of the city of Kvitsnal in 569 AD during the era of Kavil and dynastic rulers such as Bolan Tsakap Ahau. Archaeologists are now working to preserve the monument, which has been damaged by erosion, and are creating a 3D reconstruction of it for further research. The First King. Belize, the jungles of Carriage. For almost 40 years, the archaeologist couple Arlen and Diana Chase have been excavating stairways, marketplaces, and dams here until they finally reached the heart of the Khan complex, the Sky Place. Beneath the thick slabs, they discovered a narrow passage and a staircase leading to a cinnabar-painted chamber. On the floor lay a skeleton, its shoulders adorned with jade beads. Nearby, 11 painted vessels, carved bone tubes, a mosaic mask, and spiny oyster shells the color of raw meat. The hieroglyphs on the stelae have long referred to the first ruler of the city, Tekap Chak, Hand of Thunder. Now the text matches the bone. The dating is around the year 350, just 2 to 3 decades after the ascension. So Carriage was already an independent power even before the famous arrival of the envoy in 378. It didn't awaken under foreign influence. He was already ruling, trading, and collecting tribute. The items around the body speak for themselves. Jade is a sign of royal blood. Cinnabar is a symbol of the power of sacrifice. Spondylus shells mean long-distance trade through the Caribbean, and the thin bone tubes are attributes of priests who inhaled cocoa powder before rituals. All of this is not a random collection, and the portraits of the state are gathered in the personal capsule of its founder. For scientists, this is not just a skeleton, but the first chapter in the history of Carriage, hidden by vines for almost 1,500 years. A history that isn't in the textbooks. Not so long ago, archaeologists found evidence that in ancient Troy, long before the Iliad was written, people were already drinking wine. This is not just a theory or a guess, but real chemical evidence that confirmed that even ordinary people in the territory of Troy not only drank wine, but also used it in their everyday lives. For researchers, this was a sensation, since in ancient times usually only the elite could afford the luxury of drinking wine, but in Troy, it was available to all layers of society. Studies have shown that the cult of wine was so important to the inhabitants of Troy that the vessels in which it was drunk were found throughout the city, from wealthy palaces to simple residential quarters. But what's even more interesting is that the fermentation method used in Troy was so unique that it resembled those of more complex and advanced civilizations of that time. And now, thanks to these studies, we can confidently say that Troy was not just a legend. It was real, and its culture was much more complex and progressive than we could have imagined. Incredible luck. A farmer from the Indian town of Panna, Dilip Mistry, found a 16.1 carat diamond in a private mine, which was valued at more than $70,000. Mistry, along with 3 companions, hoped to find precious stones, but did not expect such luck. A local gemstone expert, Anupam Singh, confirmed the authenticity of the find, and now the diamond will be sold at auction. Of the amount received, 12.5% will have to be given to the state as royalty, and the remaining money will be divided among the 4 prospectors. In the videos posted online, you can see Dilip proudly displaying the sparkling diamond and then handing it over to the district officer. Mistry stated that he plans to use his share of the money to improve his family's financial situation. Notably, this is not the first time a farmer has found diamonds. Previously, he and his partners had already found precious stones, although Mistry never said how much they were worth. Disgusting dinosaur. Cambodia, Ta Prohm Temple, late 12th century. In one of the niches, there is a palm-sized bas-relief, the body of a lizard, 4 legs, and a row of plates along its back. Tourists immediately called it a stegosaurus because according to textbooks, only late Jurassic dinosaurs have such plates. The bas-relief is carved at the same level as many other ornaments using the same gray sandstone. The wall is covered with a thin biological patina, and the thickness of the coating was measured with a laser scanner. It is even, with no clean tracks that would have been left by a recent carving. Chemical analysis of the patina revealed it is at least 500 years old, dating the work to the temple's construction period. This finding drew archaeologists' attention. The plates match in shape and are arranged just like palm leaves, which taprome artists often use to frame animal figures. If you mentally remove the leafy border, what remains is an ordinary rhinoceros, a large body, massive legs, and a short tail. This interpretation fits into the iconography of the complex. Rhinoceroses are common in the bas-reliefs of Angkor. Now I'll explain why the dinosaur theory appeared. By the early 2000s, the stone's coating had partly worn off, leaf edges eroded, and its silhouette started to look like plate outlines. The photos spread across forums of paleomyth enthusiasts, and the story grew without anyone checking the source. When the panel was cleaned with micro-abrasive, in 2023 remnants of the leaf veins and small decorative details appeared, which are never depicted on the backs of dinosaurs. It's just an ordinary Khmer rhinoceros, and the plates are just part of a palm tree worn down by time. One worn-out ornament turned into a dinosaur sensation, even though it's just a faded background. Lacquered coffin. In 2018, archaeologists in Jiangsu Province, China, discovered a unique 700-year-old lacquered coffin from the Yuan dynasty. Its bright red surface was perfectly preserved thanks to the multi-layered lacquer coating, which protected the wood from moisture and decay. Lacquered coffins were a symbol of high status in China, and their creation required complex techniques. The lacquer was applied in several layers and then polished to a shine. This method of preservation allowed the coffin to survive for centuries with almost no damage. The discovery is also important because the Yuan dynasty left relatively few burials, and this coffin can tell us a lot about the burial traditions of that time. A giant military memorial. Archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old memorial monument at the site of Banat Bazi in Syria, which resembles the ancient Egyptian step pyramid in Saqqara. This man-made mound, known as the White Monument because of the shine of its building materials, was first studied several decades ago. Recent research has shown that around 2400 BC, the previously existing mound was modified and supplemented with a series of horizontal steps, each containing at least 30 burials. These were sealed with layers of plaster. Ancient Mesopotamian texts mention military memorials where the bodies of enemies were piled up, although such monuments have not yet been found. The White Monument at Tel Banat appears to have been a memorial for burying the settlement's residents, not enemies killed in battle. The discovery calls into question some traditional ideas in Near Eastern archaeology. The monument was comparable in size to the step pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara, but it was built not from stone, but from earth. The burials in the White Monument were carefully arranged according to ritual customs, along with military equipment, sometimes next to projectiles and animal hides. This fact indicates that the community tried to honor its warriors by creating a memorial in their honor. Lednica Face. Poland, Lake Lednica. During work in the shore area of the First Piast's fortress, archaeologists raised an oak beam, 1 meter 34 centimeters long part of a fortress hook that held the rampart from spreading. On one end there is a carved human face, an oval rim, an arch above the forehead, and a rounded chin. The size is about 13.5 by 10 centimeters. The face was not looking toward the fortress, but toward the water. Dendrochronology gave the exact age of the oak beams. That's around 960 to 975 AD. The very time when the prince's residence, a chapel, and baptismal pools stood on Lednica Island. For the Slavs of the 10th century, carved human faces on building elements were rare. Here, the image was placed on the outer side of the rampart, as if someone was addressing it to the lake. Maybe it's a water spirit or guardian of the crossing, or a reminder of Christianity's rise over paganism. The island was crucial for baptizing Polish lands. They compare it to the Slavic anthropomorphic figurines from Wollin and the four-faced idols. There are stylistic similarities, but no direct analogies. Right now, the carved face is undergoing conservation. The wood is being stabilized so it doesn't crack in the open air. The plan is to display the find at the Museum of the First Piasts in the second half of 2026. Pyramid on the site of a volcano. The Great Pyramid at the Mayan site of San Andres was built in response to the eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano in the Lago Ilopango caldera. San Andres, located in the Zapotitan Valley in the La Libertad department of El Salvador, was founded around 900 BC as an economic center that became the capital of a Mayan state between 600 and 900 AD. The eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano, which occurred around 539 AD, was one of the largest volcanic events in history, ejecting about 43.7 cubic kilometers of volcanic material. It caused significant climate changes and devastated an area with a radius of up to 100 kilometers. Dr. Akira Achikawa from the University of Colorado Boulder noted that because of the scale of the disaster, many settlements were abandoned and it took a long time for them to recover. However, research in San Andres, just 40 kilometers from Lago Ilopango, showed that construction began just a few years after the eruption. The beginning of the construction of the La Campana pyramid is dated to just 5 to 30 years after the eruption, and its completion took about 80 years. The pyramid, 7 meters high and with a volume of 23,000 cubic meters, became the largest structure in the valley. Dr. Achikawa suggests that the pyramid was built using volcanic ash as a material and had religious significance related to the veneration of volcanoes in order to protect against future eruptions. The Hollow Earth Doctrine, the search for entrances to other worlds. Among all the strange theories supported by the SS leadership, the most mysterious remains Hohlweltlehre, the Hollow Earth Doctrine. This was not just a mystical fascination of Adolf Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, but a special state program that received enormous budget funding. Nazi ideologists seriously believed that our planet is hollow inside, and that beneath the thick crust, there is other life, high-tech civilizations, and even an inner sun. In 1942, by personal order of Hermann Göring, one of the strangest military operations was organized. A group of scientists led by physicist Heinz Fischer went to the island of Rügen in the Baltic Sea. They had a task: to direct powerful radar installations not sideways, but into the sky at a 45-degree angle. They believed that if Earth was concave, radar beams reflecting off the atmosphere could detect the British fleet through the planet's center. The experiment failed, but the very attempt to conduct it shows how deeply mysticism had penetrated the Reich's military strategy. Special attention was given to the search for an entrance to this underground space. The Nazis looked for them in Tibet, in the Himalayas, and in the far north. However, the most famous location became Antarctica. In 1938, Captain Alfred Richer's expedition on the ship Schwabenland declared a vast territory of the icy continent to be the property of Germany under the name New Swabia. Officially, this was done to protect the whaling industry, but in secret SS reports there were mentions of searches for warm oases and geothermal caves that could lead deep into the planet. After the war, there were rumors among American submariners that German Type 21 submarines were heading to Antarctica, loaded with secret archives and rare materials. There is a theory that the Nazis discovered giant underground cavities there, created by warm currents, and tried to establish a secret base 211. Admiral Karl Dönitz once made a mysterious statement: "The German submarine fleet is proud to have created an impregnable fortress for the Führer on the other side of the world, a true earthly paradise." Was this just rhetoric? Or did the Nazis really discover something unusual under Antarctica's ice? Official science denies the possibility of voids on such a scale, but numerous reports about the operations of the Ahnenerbe make historians return again and again to the question: what exactly were the SS men looking for in the most inaccessible corners of the earth, and did they manage to find it? Ancient Slavic cemetery in Germany. Archaeologists from Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, made an important discovery by finding a medieval Slavic settlement and cemetery near Wettin-Löbejun. These discoveries were made during preparations for the construction of the underground power line Südostlink. The excavations revealed a settlement covering 1.2 acres, dating back to the migration period and the early Middle Ages. The settlement went through 2 stages. In the early stage, it was fortified with a ditch 4 meters wide, and later individual homesteads with half-meter ditches were identified. Among the artifacts, a pearl and a bronze bracelet were found. An important part of the settlement was the craft quarter, where bog iron ore was extracted and textile production took place. 2 wells were also discovered, providing the settlement with water. A cemetery with about 60 graves from the 10th-11th centuries arranged in 2 rows was excavated near the settlement. Most of the burials were carried out according to Christian traditions, with the bodies oriented to the east. Among the finds, a family grave and the burial of a child with hydrocephalus stand out, which indicates the care of the community. Fused gold coins. In the city of Histria, on the western coast of the Black Sea, archaeologists found a treasure, but in a form that immediately raises suspicion. More than 40 coins and metal ornaments were not neatly stacked but fused together, as if someone had thrown them into a furnace. Later it became clear the treasure perished in a fire almost 2,000 years ago, along with the house where it was hidden. The fire was so intense that the metals melted and solidified, preserving the shape of the wooden box that had long since disappeared. Meanwhile, the coins stayed recognizable, round with clear outlines. This is a rare case when a disaster did not destroy the find, but literally preserved a moment of life. The house where the treasure was discovered was far from poor. Stone paving, painted walls, high-quality ceramics. Everything points to a wealthy family. Archaeologists suggest that the owner didn't have time to save the valuables or simply didn't expect the fire to destroy everything in a matter of hours. Istria was an important city of the Roman Empire during the Principate era, but even here people lived with a sense of instability. A treasure, hidden and lost at the same time, shows how fragile the order we are used to considering solid really was. A frozen Scythian boot. This boot is a real artifact from the past, more than 2,300 years old. It was discovered in an Altai Mountains burial mound where permafrost preserved it perfectly. This is Scythian footwear, made of leather and decorated with intricate patterns, and the sole is studded with bright beads. Such decoration indicates the high status of its owner. Most likely this was part of the attire of a noble Scythian, or even a noble Scythian woman. The Scythians were famous not only for their martial skills, but also for their ability to make things that could pass for works of art. Their clothing was not only practical but also incredibly beautiful. Interestingly, the sole of the boot is also decorated. Perhaps it was a ritual element or simply a desire to look stylish even after death. Fingerprints of an ancient human. Archaeologists discovered an amazing Iron Age statue with well-preserved fingerprints of its creator, which allows us to take a look at the life of our ancestors more than 3,000 years ago. This ancient clay figure, dating back to the 9th or 10th century BC, was found at the bottom of a lake in Italy, and according to experts, has ritual significance. The discovery was made in Lake Bolsena, a volcanic lake where archaeologists found a clay sculpture resembling a female figure about the size of a palm. Usually such figures are found in burial sites, but this one was discovered in an area that was once a residential zone of a submerged settlement. The team from the Underwater Archaeology Service and the Italian Cultural Heritage Restoration Group, together with state divers, played a key role in preserving and recovering this artifact. Researchers note that the statue is so well preserved that you can see the fingerprints of the master who created it. This suggests that the sculpture might have been a trial version rather than a finished work. This discovery also sheds light on the ancient Italian settlement of Aiolo, which scientists believe existed during the Iron Age. The Gran Caro di Bolsena region, where the discovery was made, is associated with volcanic activity and has a rich history, the study of which began only in 1991 when researchers found a cluster of unprocessed stones, presumably belonging to the early Iron Age. When the Sahara was an ocean, now it seems lifeless. Endless sand, sun-scorched rocks, occasional caravans. But once, millions of years ago, the Sahara was completely different. It was an ocean, the Tethys Ocean, vast, warm, inhabited by ancient creatures, ammonites, sea urchins, corals, giant reptiles. All of this lived where today only lizards barely survive. Geologists have found traces of deltas, riverbeds, and shorelines. Everything here tells us that water once splashed in this place, but the ocean disappeared, and a new story began in its place. Hundreds of thousands of years later, people settled on this land. Some of the most ancient people whose name still echoes through the sands are the Berbers, or, as they call themselves, the Amazigh. They are the descendants of those who survived climate change, the disappearance of rivers, and the drying up of lakes. They stayed when others left. Their rock paintings in Tassili Najar are a true library of prehistoric consciousness. People hunting with bows, celebrations, scenes of love and war, even images of beings with rounded helmets, as if from another reality. Some believe it's an allegory. Some see it as proof of contact with another intelligence. But the essence remains. Before the Sahara existed, the Berbers already told their stories. They knew where to find water, how to survive when the days are scorching and the nights are freezing. They ruled Numidia, traded with Rome, and fought with Egypt. And then they disappeared from the map, but not from the land. The Arab conquest pushed them out of the cities, into the desert and mountains, but their culture survived. To this day, in remote villages, the Berber language can be heard, and memories that are thousands of years old live on. In the desert itself, traces of a much more ancient past remain: stone mushrooms. At first glance, they are just rocks, but if you look closely, their shapes are astonishing. A massive cap of hard stone rests on a thin, eroded stem. These formations are the result of differential erosion. The wind, carrying sand, polishes the soft rocks for years, leaving the hard ones standing. Each of these mushrooms is like a marker of time, temporary but proud. Their stems gradually become thinner, and one day the cap will collapse. They live for hundreds of thousands of years, but they are still doomed, just like the ocean, just like civilization. Only memory in the stones, pollen, and sand endures. Are there any other remnants of this ancient civilization? And what can they tell us about the past, which we still do not understand? The oldest calendar archaeologists made an astonishing discovery at Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, uncovering the world's oldest calendar, which is 12,000 years old. This discovery has the potential to change our understanding of early civilizations, as it shows that as early as 10,000 BC people were already able to measure time. This happened long before the emergence of ancient Greece and other well-known cultures. The calendar is carved on a stone column and contains 365 marks, which indicates the existence of 12 months with the addition of 11 extra days. At the top of the column, you can see symbols including the letter V. And at the bottom, there is a depiction of a bird with a round object and a scorpion. These images may symbolize the sun and zodiac signs. Research also points to a connection with a comet that caused a sharp cooling for 1,200 years. This event had a devastating impact on large animal species and may have caused significant changes in the region's ecosystem. Historians believe that such catastrophic events could have been a catalyst for the emergence of new religions and the development of agriculture, which in turn led to the formation of the first civilizations. The secret that was known to the CIA. In 2002, declassified CIA documents were made public. One of them was simply titled the Noah's Ark Report. It mentions a strange object on the slope of Mount Ararat. The formation looks like the hull of a huge ship. Rumors about this place have been circulating since the mid-20th century. But here's what's strange. The CIA conducted aerial reconnaissance, then brought in satellites, all for the sake of this anomaly. According to the official version, nothing special was found in the images. Dozens of requests to publish the footage, especially from 1974, were denied. Why hide the images if there's nothing on them? Later, researchers collected soil samples from this place. They found marine organisms in them. But Mount Ararat is at an altitude of 4,420 meters. Does this mean that water really was here? The very same water from the biblical flood? It might seem like just a coincidence, but there are just too many such coincidences. For too long, people have tried to avoid this place. A compass from the 16th century. Archaeology enthusiasts discovered a 16th century compass in the city of Frombork in northern Poland, where the famous astronomer Nicholas Copernicus lived and worked. The local museum suggested that this instrument, which became only the third such find in Poland, might have belonged to Copernicus himself, the creator of the revolutionary model of the universe, where the sun, not the earth, is at the center. The compass was found in the Canon's Gardens of Frombork by two groups of archaeology enthusiasts under the guidance of professionals. The compass was discovered in the garden where Copernicus conducted his astronomical observations. In their social media posts, they noted that this discovery not only takes us back to the era of Copernicus's great discoveries, but also opens up new opportunities for understanding his working methods. The choice of the canonical gardens for excavation was based on the legend of a tunnel that connected Copernicus's workplace with the city's cathedral. The compass is made of a copper alloy and dates back to the 16th century. The artifact will undergo conservation work, after which its further fate will be decided by the local monument curator. The museum hopes that this valuable item will add to its collections. The first compass was found in 2005 in the courtyard of the Collegium Novum of the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. The second one was also discovered in the canonical gardens of Frombork in 2016, and it is already part of the museum's collection. Copernicus, who was born in 1473 in Turin, lived for 30 years in Frombork, where he served as a canon and conducted astronomical observations. A stone city made of shells. In Western Australia, just a couple of hours' drive from Perth, there is a place that looks like a set from a movie about an alien planet, the Pinnacles Desert. Thousands of stone spires jutting out of the sand. Some look like columns, others like mushrooms, and others like fragments of walls. Some of them reach up to 3.5 meters in height, and in the sunset light they cast long shadows, turning the landscape into a stone labyrinth. For a long time, these shapes were thought to be either remnants of ancient structures or the result of unusual erosion. In reality, the story turned out to be even stranger. Tens of thousands of years ago, there was an ocean here. After it receded, huge masses of seashells remained on the surface. Over time, they were compressed and turned into limestone, and then the wind came into play. Slowly, millennium after millennium, it blew away the soft sand, leaving only the densest cores behind. That's how the shells that once lay on the seafloor became vertical spires in the middle of the desert. No volcanoes, no tectonics, no human hands, just water, limestone, and time. Similar formations can be found in other parts of the world, but nowhere else are they gathered so densely and over such a large area. That's why the pinnacles are easily mistaken for the ruins of a vanished city. A city that never existed, but it looks too convincing to be a coincidence. Terracotta Aqueduct. Archaeologists have discovered a terracotta aqueduct that is 2,600 years old in the ancient settlement of Keladi in Tamil Nadu, India. This discovery highlights the highly developed water supply systems of the civilization that flourished here thousands of years ago, and it adds new information about the craftsmanship of the people of the Sangam era in urban planning and engineering. Keladi, located 12 kilometers from Madurai, was first discovered in 2014. Since then, this site has become important for studying the Sangam period, which spans from 300 BCE to 300 CE. In recent decades, more than 20,000 artifacts have been found at this site, indicating an advanced society that excelled in brick production, making busts, and creating terracotta items. A recently discovered cylindrical terracotta water pipe, according to representatives of the Tamil Nadu State Archaeology Department, consists of 6 sections, each 36 centimeters long and 18 centimeters wide. These sections were carefully joined together, forming a water pipe 174 centimeters long. It is believed that it was used for transporting drinking water, demonstrating advanced hydraulic engineering skills. This discovery also broadens our understanding that advanced engineering practices existed not only in northern India, but also in the southern regions, indicating a more technologically advanced ancient India than previously thought. A salt brick instead of money. On an ancient fresco found in Calakmul, a UNESCO World Heritage Site on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, the first documented case of salt trade among the Maya more than 2,500 years ago is depicted. On the fresco depicting everyday life, a salt seller shows a buyer a salt brick wrapped in leaves, while another person holds a large spoon over a basket, presumably filled with loose salt. This is the earliest known depiction of salt being sold at a market in the Maya region. Salt, being a necessary biological element and a means of preserving food, was a valuable commodity among the Maya due to its limited availability. Salt bricks could be easily transported by canoe along the coast and up rivers in southern Belize. In 2004, Archaeologist Heather McKillop from Louisiana State University discovered the first remains of ancient salt kitchens, submerged and preserved in a saltwater mangrove lagoon in Belize. Since then, she and her team have explored 70 sites which make up a network of buildings and rooms known as the Paynes Creek Salt Works. McKillop's team discovered 4,042 wooden posts, a canoe, a paddle, a high-quality jadeite tool, stone tools for salting fish and meat, as well as hundreds of ceramic vessels. By studying the ceramic vessels used for evaporating brine, the researchers found that they were standardized by volume, which indicates the production of uniform salt units, possibly used as a means of exchange similar to money. A mysterious drink in a jug. In China, the oldest distilled alcohol, over 3,000 years old, has been found. This rare liquid, discovered in a bronze vessel from the Shang dynasty, proves that distillation technology appeared in China much earlier than previously thought. The owl-shaped vessel was found in 2010 in tomb M257 in Daxinzhuang, Shandong province. Due to corrosion, it could not be opened immediately. Only in 2024, after careful restoration, were researchers able to look inside. To their surprise, the vessel contained a clear liquid that was preserved thanks to the tight sealing. Analysis at the Shandong University laboratory confirmed that it was distilled liquor. It did not contain sugars or organic acids typical of fermented wine, but had a neutral pH of 5.8. This distinguishes it from previously known alcoholic beverages of the Neolithic era and the Zhou dynasty. Human blood on an ancient mask. The golden mask of the Sican sculpture, found on the northern coast of Peru, contains traces of human blood. The Sican culture, which existed from 750 to 1375 AD, is known for its luxurious gold artifacts, including funerary masks that were created during the Middle Sican period and often accompanied the elite in their tombs. In the 1990s, archaeologists excavated the tomb of one such elite individual. Inside, they discovered a skeleton sitting upside down, painted bright red with cinnabar, with a gold mask covering the separated skull. Around the skeleton were remains of two young women posed as if giving birth and assisting, along with two children. In a recent study, scientists analyzed the paint on the mask and identified 6 human blood proteins, including serum albumin and immunoglobulin G. They also found proteins from egg white, presumably from a Muscovy duck. Researchers believe that the presence of blood symbolized vitality and might have been connected to the idea of the deceased's rebirth. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.